Hello and welcome to the Columbus Metropolitan Club. I'm Steve Marks. I'm chair of the CMC Board of Trustees and president of Hannah News Service here in Columbus. It's great to see everyone here today on a nice cold morning. Today's forum, New Hilton Highrise Fuels Development, is sponsored by Crow and Columbus Business First and in partnership with Experience Columbus and the Short North Arts District. Each are represented by many friends and associates here today. Won't you please help me and thank them? Build it and they will come, a simple phrase that aptly describes the momentum and growth we've seen since Battelle funded the first Columbus Convention facility, Battelle Hall, which opened in September of 1980. Since then, the facility has undergone many major new construction, renovation, and expansion projects to become a shining beacon for visitors and a major catalyst for continued development and vitality in and around and near the north side of downtown. There is much that goes on behind the scenes to support this engine of development, tourism, arts, and culture, and we are pleased to welcome a few of those leaders here today to learn more. Won't you please help me welcome President and CEO of Experience Columbus, Brian Ross. Executive Director of the Short North Alliance, Betsy Pandora. Executive Director of the Franklin County Convention Facilities Authority, Don Brown. And our host, Editor-in-Chief of the Columbus Business First, Doug Buchanan. Doug, the stage is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. As you know, we are at Columbus Business First. We publish every day online. We had that slideshow up not too long ago, so thank you very much for that, Don. That was tremendous for page views. In addition, Betsy, lots of new restaurants in the Short North. And of course, Brian, the many conventions that you are bringing in. So keep up the good work because as you thrive, we thrive, and that keeps me in business. So I do appreciate that. Don, we're going to start with you. So Hilton 2.0, you want to kind of give us the 1,000-foot view of what it is and what it's going to bring.
Well, Hilton 2.0 is an expansion to Hilton 1.0, which was opened in 2012. And is now enjoying its eighth success year in a row of success. Okay. The expansion will create a 1,000 guest room property, okay, which will be the largest hotel not only in Columbus, Central Ohio, but the state of Ohio. It will feature 3 ballrooms. Okay. It will feature a signature restaurant on High Street. It will feature a spectacular view from the rooftop bar and terrace, and we'll invite you all there for drinks when it opens in 2020.
Save your tickets from today, and you get one free entree, right? Something like that.
It took a village, and it took a journey. We kept an activity log of studies and meetings and decisions and actions that led to 1.0. And it was a 10-year process for this community to get comfortable with the notion of developing a headquarters hotel, to capitalize on the potential, the emerging visitor and tourism and meeting and convention business. That began in 2001 and led to the decision in 2010 to develop it, and it opened in 2012. Right. I'm happy to report that the process to develop 2.0 to expand the existing 500-room hotel to 1,000 rooms only took the community 4 years to get comfortable with. So we did it in twice the speed, and that, I think, reflects the fact that the community was growing more and more comfortable with its own success at meetings and convention business. We became more comfortable with the fact that we could, in fact, compete with St. Louis and Indianapolis and Cleveland and Cincinnati and so on and so forth. In fact, just 2 days ago, Cincinnati referred to us as its tourism officials in Cincinnati referred to Columbus as their North Star.
Fantastic.
We're now what they aspire to be. Unfortunately, their convention headquarters hotel just the next day, yesterday, announced that it would be closing and on New Year's Eve of this year. So the challenge that Cincinnati faces to catch up with us, much less compete with us, is enormous. Our challenge will be, how do we maintain the success that we have developed over the last 20 years of investment, not only in infrastructure, but in our ability to compete and succeed and win conferences like ASAE or PCMA. How do we capitalize on our strength and stay ahead for the next 20 years?
Well, Don, thank you for that. You're doing my job for me. Brian, you want to take that up? How do we, in fact, maintain that momentum and ensure that there are people for this hotel?
Well, first of all, again, I want to thank Don and the CFA and the mayor, county commissioners for their investment in Hilton 2.0 and the importance that has. But also thank all of you, because I can tell you our job is much harder if all of you aren't succeeding in what you do every day. We have to have the infrastructure to bring people in here, but what I can share with you, what differentiates us from every other community, is our community and how diverse we are, how open we are, how progressive we are, how inclusive we are. And we heard that loud and clear when we had ASAE in here. Everything that came back was how wonderful our community was, the volunteers that we brought in. So to continue to be successful, yes, the infrastructure is going to be very important, but also getting the community to continue to understand and become educated on how important the industry is and becoming a part of it. All of you belong to societies, associations, soccer clubs, whatever it may be, and there's always a place, a location that is being asked to hold some of these events. Bring them to Columbus. We'll take care of them. Tourism, the travel economy is huge. It's big business in Columbus. It is $7 billion a year in visitor spend, supports over 78,000 jobs, and we welcome 42 million visitors a year. Okay, and that's important as well, because with our bed tax, that generates $48 million a year in bed tax. And that's important because it helps support over 30 human service organizations, affordable housing, the arts, the Convention Facilities Authority, and Experience Columbus, and the Greater Columbus Sports Commission. So I do want to share, when we're talking about conventions and events, the Greater Columbus Sports Commission, and I don't see Linda, I don't think she's here, but is very important to what we're doing from that standpoint too. So involvement from the community and all of us continuing to be successful.
Fantastic. Betsy, I think of the $7 billion that's coming in, I think $6 billion of that is spent in the short north.
Hopefully, yes.
So
Yes.
what is the impact and how has that changed things for you?
He has a big purse over here.
It is a very large purse. Thank you, Brian. Well, it's a very symbiotic relationship, I think, between the Short North Arts District and the convention facilities and all of the great work that Experience Columbus does to attract so many of those visitors each year. The impact to the community in the Short North Arts District is significant, in particular since the completion of the renovations and expansion to the Greater Columbus Convention Center, which Don and John Page and others that are here today work so very hard to make happen. We've actually had our businesses reporting with greater frequency that they are seeing a larger share of their sales coming from out-of-town visitors, and in particular convention attendees, which is great, which is what this is designed to do. And our business community is a really small and local business community. About 88% of the business community is locally owned or headquartered business. 70% of the business community employs 10 people or less. So we're talking about a hyper-local, hyper-small constituency that benefits greatly from the 4 million people that we believe we see visiting from the convention center and visitors to Columbus each year.
And on that, to paraphrase Yogi Berra's, Betsy, the Short North sometimes seems like it's so popular that nobody goes there anymore.
I assure you that's not true.
But you mentioned the increased share of business from convention. I mean, is it changing the kind of the nature of the Short North?
Well, it's interesting. We did a market study in 2017 that kind of gave us some insights into the customer dynamics in the district. In that study, we kind of identified that we serve locals, what we call metro visitors, so people that aren't local or working or living in the Short North area, and then out-of-town visitors. And 43% of the market share in 2017 was from locals. And that's up from 38% in 2007. Metros accounted for 34%, down from 37% in 2007. And out-of-town visitors are 23% of our market share, and that's held steady since then. So we're losing a little bit of that metro visitor audience, which is interesting because other areas outside of the Short North Arts District, I think, have developed amenities that are very similar to the Short North, and maybe it's not as easy to get people to leave those neighborhoods, but locals are growing and visitors are going to be growing. We've got 1,000 hotel rooms that are under construction right now. That includes what Don's building and several others. There's 2 new hotels that just opened on High Street in the heart of the Short North. So we really think that all of that is contributing to supporting our community. Okay. And with such a small and local business community, they need that business in order to thrive and be successful. So it's a very popular area of the city, but I don't think that we are losing our authenticity or our significance because we have this convention business. If anything, it's helping to support and grow that unique community.
Okay. Don, I want to go back to the hotel for a second. Betsy mentioned all of the new hotel rooms being built, and you and I were talking before that the Hilton 2.0 is a publicly financed hotel. If it was needed, why didn't a private developer build it?
Headquarters hotels,
okay,
with ballrooms and lots of breakout rooms and meeting rooms and restaurant and a large lobby to handle groups are very expensive. The hotel, the Hilton 1.0 and 2.0 will cost about $375,000 per key, per room. That's a lot. That's an expensive investment, just like the convention center was an expensive investment. And by the way, that hotel, when we say it is publicly financed and publicly owned, but it will be paid for with hotel revenues. And it will be repaid from hotel revenues and bed taxes that come from the visitors that stay the night there. So it's not being supported by general property taxes or general sales taxes or general income taxes. That public investment, though, in infrastructure draws private investment. And we can see that in the canopy that's been recently developed. We can see that in the Jeff Ruby's restaurant that's opened up right across the street from the convention center. We can see that from the Ruth Chris Steakhouse that's opening up on High Street, yep, and the Moxie and the Graduate. There's lots of private investment coming into the region, the Short North, the Arena District, the Convention District, that is induced by the success of the visitor meeting and convention business that it was derived from the public investment that started with. And I think Cincinnati and other cities in our competitive set are learning that, and because they have failed to make reinvest in their public, in their infrastructure since the early 2000s.
But on the other hand, Cleveland did build an expansion to their convention center, and it didn't work. I mean, you mentioned Cincinnati's convention hotel is going to close. I mean, is there a concern? And we'll ask Brian this here next. But is there a concern that he won't be able to fill those rooms?
I trust that our partner and his team can and will, and they have. The hotel is enjoying 75% occupancy right now, and has enjoyed strong occupancy over the last 8 years. Sooner or later, yes, there will be a national recession. Hopefully, it'll be mild and short, but we believe that we are now a magnet for meetings and conventions, and we believe the groups will come here not only for what we offer in the building, but all of the walkable entertainment and dining and sports and other arts and shopping attractions that are within easy walking distance in the Arena District, in the Short North District, and around. So visitors tell us that what's happening outside the building is probably as important as the presentations and the breakout sessions inside the building.
Okay. Brian, your thoughts on that? What will this, I guess, what will this hotel then be able to bring in that, you can't get now?
So Hilton 2.0 is going to really allow us, as Don spoke about, to maximize the phenomenal convention center that we have. Don mentioned some of our competing cities. There's about 10 competitive cities. You have Nashville, Louisville, St. Louis, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Milwaukee, and let's see, Kansas City. So with all of those, what this does is we have the fourth largest convention center, but unfortunately, when you look at the type of hotels, we all want to be able to provide many types of experiences and accommodations because we are such a diverse and inclusive community, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's boutique hotels, whether it's limited service hotels, but we have to have a balance. And right now, without the current convention hotel, we have a major imbalance to where in our competitive set, we're actually last in convention hotel offerings. So we don't need to be fourth, but we definitely can't have that gap. So with this, it'll allow us, that's why ASAE was here. That's why we're getting the Professional Convention Managers Association. It will allow us to go after groups that on a given night, a organization will contract a certain number of rooms, okay? And what we're looking for is 3,000 to 4,000 rooms on that peak night, we call it. So those are larger conventions and above. But with the new hotel coming on board, it'll allow us to have access to over 320,000 more room nights each year just in our competitive set. That's not nationally. That's just in the cities that we compete against. So the business is there, and we know we have the community that will step up and provide those unique, distinct experiences. So it will be filled, and it's great. And I will say that one of the things that does differentiate us from a lot of our other competitors is the walkability and the phenomenal districts that we have. I mean, the Short North Arts District is a gem, we know, just for leisure travelers, but you put that right next to the convention center, and it's a home run. The North Market, again, a phenomenal asset to have. Then you have the Arena District, and you can keep going on and on. When we had ASAE in town, you could look all over downtown, Franklinton, German Village, wherever you may go, you saw name tags that said ASAE. That's the goal.
Okay. Betsy, so on that point, it's the Short North Arts District, so how many art galleries are actually in the Short North these days, and has that number changed?
This is a great question, and a question that we get a lot. So the neighborhood is an arts district. It is a center of cultural activity. A lot of that activity takes place in independent art galleries, and we've had a pretty good concentration of about 20 independent art galleries that have consistently operated in the neighborhood over the last 20-some years. What has changed, I think, and why people, I think, ask that question with frequency is they sense maybe there's a difference in that experience, is that we have grown in all of these other areas of our business community significantly. We have doubled the size of the business community in the Short North since 2012. We now have 350 businesses. About a third are dining-based businesses. About a third are retail, art gallery, nonprofit, or some other kind of experience. And about a third are service providers of some kind, whether that's a professional firm or a hair salon or a nail salon or something like that. It's a really diverse, mixed business community. But the art galleries are a very, very special part of that experience that we have in the district. It helps give it that identity, and their experiences can be seen in many other areas beyond their walls. For example, we have folks from Hammond Harkins Gallery here, and one of their artists just did a gorgeous permanent installation inside the new Moxie Hotel. So you may have dedicated spaces where you see revolving exhibitions, but those art galleries have tons of collaborations across the neighborhood that really strengthen the arts experience that you have on High Street.
And it's spreading out too, right? You've got public art, a budget of what for public art in the neighborhood? I don't know the specifics, but it's expanding, right?
We have been expanding art projects. So we've been doing multiple six-figure projects a year now for several years, and that's our plan going forward. You have folks like Don who've invested significantly in public art in the form of one of the largest collections of publicly displayed art, as well as Matthew Moore's stunning piece, As We Are, which is the head sculpture that you may know. We just did a collaboration with the Graduate Hotel, which added the city's tallest murals to the exteriors of that building. That's called The Journey, and is a stunning celebration of Columbus's New American community, and Columbus is a diverse and open and smart and welcoming city. And that project actually debuting in the next week will be an augmented reality app that you can download for free. And if you orient your phone towards any portion of the building where the art is, the art literally will jump out at you and come alive. More and more, we're seeing that with the business that Brian's attracting and the incredible facilities that Don has, those folks, they don't just want to come and meet someplace, they want to have a memorable experience when they meet someplace. And we've doubled down on investing in things like public art and being some of the strongest champions for public art in the city, because we not only see the value in helping to support the incredible convention business, but it does so very much to unite our community. And I think there's often discussion about the changing evolution of the Short North. The more that we can be doing things that get us together and get us to unite, and art projects do that significantly, the more that discussion fades away a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we're never going to be the next Nashville without a angel wing mural, whatever that thing is that everybody's always
We don't need
Instagramming.
angel wings. We can create our very own thing.
We're going to be Columbus, and we're going to be better than that.
Okay.
And thanks for the shout out, Betsy, about our public art collection that's exhibited in the convention center.
Welcome, Don.
How is that? Is it as we are?
As we are.
As we are? How has that been going, Don?
At last count, I think we have close to 50,000 images, visitor images, that are in the collection now, and we rotate through those images.
Okay.
So if you stick around long enough, Doug, you'll be able to see yourself.
Yeah. I tried it once, and that was enough. You do not want to see my head on that thing. Brian, real quick, the one convention that always gets talked about is one of the big political conventions. We tried a few years ago. Is Hilton 2.0 going to put us in a position where we can go after it again?
We're in a position right now where we could accommodate both of the RNC or DNC conventions. Hilton 2.0 definitely adds more of a attractiveness to our hotel package. I mean, they're going to Milwaukee this year. And on a given night, we have 10,000 more hotel rooms available in our metropolitan statistical area than Milwaukee does.
Okay.
So we definitely can accommodate that. I would say that that is something that, there's a lot of bandwidth that goes with that. That would definitely be a community endeavor, and it would take everybody, because not only is there a large investment in that, but it does take people away from, their daily jobs and really shuts down certain areas. But there is no doubt that if we decided as a community and we were all in, they'd have the best convention they ever had.
Okay.
I would say that I know the mayor and county commissioners and partnership and a lot of our other partners have definitely invested in the ASAEs of the world, the PCMAs of the world, because of the return on investment. And also, I know we have the U.S. Conference of Mayors that's coming in 2022 in June, which will be exciting. So there's a lot of NACO we had here. The county commissioners were very happy to bring them in. So we're getting a lot of political eyeballs here as well.
Right. So if you had your druthers, we would do 2024.
As I said, we would definitely work with our community to pursue that, because I can tell you, Experience Columbus does not have the resources to accommodate that. It would definitely be a community endeavor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don, you look like you were about to say you wanted it.
I was, and I'd agree with everything that Brian said. To put it in perspective, the community, we had to raise and invest close to $3 million? $4 million to host ASCE, very successful event that generated 3 times that in visitor spending while they were here. To host PCMA will probably take a similar investment, $4 million. But to host a RNC or DNC would probably take an investment north of $60 million. And so the question is the return on investment, is the community prepared to invest that much in one event? Even though it puts us on the map, it's certainly high profile, but is it worth an investment of $60 million when there are so many other needs in our community that compete for that investment?
Show of hands, yes. We can pass a hat, I suppose. Betsy, let me ask you what I kind of call the mean Mr. Mustard's question, because I've had this conversation with the campus partners people a couple of times, to where people, and there's probably a lot of people in this room who went to Ohio State, and they're very nostalgic for the Ohio State and the high street of when they went to school, and it's not that way anymore. Do you think that there is a contingent in Columbus who are nostalgic for the short north of pick your number of years ago that's not, not what it is today?
I think it's fair to say that there probably are.
Okay.
But just like kids like me who grew up in Columbus are nostalgic for the old COSI or the French Market, anything, thank you for the 3 that laughed, places have deep emotional meaning to people. Place contributes to how we form our memories. Yeah. And when anything changes, we have an emotional reaction to it. I think, the Short North has continuously been a place of change since the early 1980s when we started to see initial reinvestment in it to today. And I think that it is, of course, okay for people to feel nostalgic and to long and pine for the Short North of 5 to 10 years ago or 15 to 20 years ago. But what I feel like I hear more of today is people saying how excited they are to come to the Short North because it's different. And they want to experience how it has changed, whether that's somebody who's from Columbus and maybe hasn't paid us a visit because of a bit of a streetscape and parking and all that other stuff, which is all fine now, it's all over. Or they're completely new and they're discovering us for the first time. I feel like the discourse and the conversation is much more about what is unique and the opportunity that people have to experience something different than it is wishing for the past.
I do want to go on the record as saying I didn't bring the parking up. You brought it up. So I do want to ask you about that in a second, but I have one piece of business to attend to. We are going to open this up for audience questions in just a moment, so you need to move over there and step up to the microphone. Don't be shy, and then we'll let you kind of take this over. So, Betsy.
Oh, I
Parking.
thought I was going to get off the hook.
No, you're not going to get off the hook. You frequently say the Short North has plenty of parking.
More parking than ever.
Please explain.
A thesis. So, I think it is not hyperbole. Like, we really do have more parking than ever before in the Short North. I think prior to January of this year, you had a really, really challenging experience when you visited the neighborhood. There were streets adjacent to High Street that had over 100 different parking regulations on them. We had some new garages, but you didn't really know where they were, and you were kind of confused because there's all these new buildings, and you don't know where you're going. And then what you really would do when you would visit the Short North is just look for a meter, and if the meter was full, then of course parking problem. So in January of this year, the City of Columbus instituted the Short North Parking Plan, which many, many, many stakeholders went into developing, including MKSK, who helped play a role in the development of that plan, who's here today. And we've reorganized all of the street parking, so now any street is open for public parking if you use the Park Columbus app, which I hope you all have downloaded, and if you haven't, you should. It's very easy. We have over 600 parking meters on High Street that you can use that app with, or you can still use coins or credit card if you prefer that. And thanks, Don, for adding an 800-space parking garage. And how many more parking spaces are you adding right now?
650.
650 more parking spaces in another structured parking garage, for a grand total of over 2,000 structured parking spaces, a number that's burned into my brain. And there are literally limitless options for how you can park in the neighborhood. And that, coupled with a major disruption in transportation, where we're comfortable with rideshare, and there, as an incredible transit system in CODA here, the #1 transit system in America last year. So I think it's a matter of us being thoughtful and intentional, and now we are. And the volume of phone calls that I get about parking is so insignificant now. I can't believe it.
Wow. Yeah.
I just can't believe it, which tells me that something is working.
Right. Yeah, for those of you who have been to Highball, Betsy, 2 years ago you were an orange traffic cone.
Yes.
And then this year she was a parking meter. So
Yes.
It'd be interesting to see what.
What will you all give me to dress up as next year?
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to questions. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Hold on. Wait. Andrew's gonna get on my back if I don't say this. And longtime people understand this. It is the CMC's tradition to take audience questions, so I will get to you in just 1 second. Please state your name, ask your question, avoid editorial comments, and remember, everybody with me, questions and with a question mark. Thank you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Wood, and our city has added a lot of great different types of ways to get around in recent years, as we know, from CODA adding the C-Bus, KOGO, Lyft, all the different things that we see. But to what degree do you feel that the lack of a more robust transit system affects what you are trying to achieve? And I know Betsy does not want to see High Street ripped up for anything again, but it's public knowledge and often discussed that there is a lack of options, although CODA does a great job. To what degree do you feel that is or might in the future hold us back?
We receive visitor comments and through a guest survey system at the convention center, and there's many positive comments that have come up from visitors coming for conferences or meetings or conventions who are thanking us for the Air Connect service and thanking us for the C-Bus circulator, which allows them to go down to visit the Brewery District or German District, or go up to the Short North District and come back. So those have been great improvements. For expanding on that, the many of the largest events right now, meetings and conventions, sometimes require us to have a dozen or more hotels in downtown in order to provide the number of guest rooms needed. So to facilitate that, we sometimes have to pay for a shuttle bus service that's off the beaten path, not on the C-Bus circulator route, not on the Air Connect route, but which connects the hotels with the convention center. That's something that we are currently doing to supplement the public transportation system that's in place.
And Don's right, but I'd also add, first of all, there's a great app if you download it, Pivot, which will provide all types of transportation options around you. But we do need to continue to work on a more robust transportation system. We're very fortunate, as I mentioned before, we have tremendous districts, and the ability for visitors and residents, I live downtown, I'm sure a lot of you do too, the ability for us to be very efficient in getting from point A to point B is very, very important. I think we have wonderful options now, but we definitely do as a community, and I think if you speak to anyone, whether they're on the corporate side, the public side, that it is something we have to work on investing in. I don't believe really that light rail is a big part of that, with all the changing in mobility coming into the community and the technology and innovation, but I know that it is something we have to do. We're not as in a bad place as a lot of our competing cities, which is good. However, we obviously always want to be best in class, so we need to work on that.
And, you know, you are right, Kevin. I don't want to see High Street demolished again after we've just put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But, you know, this is a two-part issue. It is equal parts thinking about innovation and mode, and a mix of things that serves a number of different needs, as well as it is about behavior change and shifting the mode among the people that are here and the people that are going to be here. We've got a diverse set of modes right now. We're lacking quite a bit in the high capacity area, but I know my friends like William Murdoch and others are doing a really good job of studying that issue and have a lot of momentum, no pun, on really compelling and meaningful new solutions, but it's necessary. And I think, you know, CODA's investments in changing the business model of having credit card payment available and using the Pivot app and the Smart Columbus initiatives that are coming with that foster smarter trip making and decision making, those are all critical pieces of the behavior change that's necessary in order for any major investment in transit to move us forward. So I had to, I'm sorry.
Okay, Bill.
Hi, I'm Bill Lafayette. I own Regionomics. And I was really alarmed to hear about the closure of the hotel in Cincinnati. And my question is, are there lessons for us from that? Did they do something or not do something that we can draw lessons from?
Yes, there are lessons, both for the present and for the future. Cincinnati probably has failed to reinvest both in its public infrastructure and its private infrastructure. The arena formerly known as U.S. Arena, U.S. Bank Arena, has not had any significant investment in 25 years. The Millennium Hotel has had no significant reinvestment in 25 years. The convention center was last renovated and expanded in 2001, 2002 era. So the lesson, Bill, is that we need to be prepared to reinvest in both our publicly owned and privately owned infrastructure to remain competitive.
And Don's absolutely right. I'd also share that there was a lot of investment in Covington, the other side of the river as well. And honestly, some of that investment got ahead of what Cincinnati was doing. You know, I had the opportunity to work in Cincinnati in 1993 and 4, and I don't think either one of, like Don was saying, I know the Millennium back then, the Adams Mark and Regal before that, had never had any dollars invested in it. So it's a matter of understanding what the assets mean and how important it is to the overall economic impact and, human development of a community.
And Columbus is known for the Columbus Way, and we've done, I think, an incredible job of leveraging public investments with private investments. Great example is the last several years of work that we've all been doing to not only add a convention hotel, add a second convention hotel, upgrade the convention facilities, and then completely redo the streetscape of High Street, connecting from the Ohio State University's campus all the way to downtown. That's a holistic way of approaching a growing business industry, but also serving the entire community at the same time. And I don't know that Cincinnati is thought that way.
Okay. Next.
Hi, I'm Jane Scott with the Metropolitan Club. Just to follow up on Bill, I think 20 years ago, the business community in Columbus didn't kind of get the tourism industry. I mean, Brian, I remember years ago in the early days of the partnership, they were mystified that tourism was one of the top tier industries. Do you think that's changed, and if so, why? And what do we need to do to help our community and our neighbors and our businesses understand the impact of tourism and that it's positive, and maybe some of the downsides that we see that could cause resistance with our businesses and our community?
Well, I would say it's definitely changed. You can see just by ASAE and the Professional Convention Managers Association coming in as well. As Don mentioned, we had to raise $4 million, and a lot of that, quite honestly, was through a lot of our corporate partners, whether that was L Brands, whether that was Huntington, people that weren't getting direct ROI. They understood the overall economic impact, what it meant to human development, what it meant to the image and brand of the community, and also quality of life. A lot of that was because over the years we've been able to get them more involved, to participate in going to some of these shows and understanding how competitive it is. And most people, when you get them out there, they get competitive. They don't like to lose. Why are we not outperforming Pittsburgh? Why are we not outperforming Cleveland and some of these other cities? And then also, just through the overall collaborative nature of our community, understanding the impact it has on talent acquisition and retention, the ability to showcase the intellectual capital that we have here in the community. Basically, you have thousands of people that are coming in on a regular basis that could work here one day, become an entrepreneur, move a business here. It's hand in glove with what One Columbus is doing as well. So it's been a period of time, but I can, at least from my experience, I can share that they're very much in supportive.
If I could add to that, 25 years ago or so, I attended the National Association of Counties conference in Cincinnati. And I thought to myself at the time, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could host that here in Columbus? We did 2 years ago. This year we hosted ASAE. 3 years from now we'll host PCMA. Now Cincinnati is wondering how could they do what Columbus is doing? We've got to figure out, we should be proud of our success to date, but we should figure out how we sustain that for the next generation.
And I think the folks that I work with, they're predominantly small business owners, so they're not thinking about ASAE or PCMA or the industry at a high level. What they're seeing is vibrancy on the street. They're seeing business come through their doors. They're seeing a sense of pride that they have in the community and an ownership to educate people about Columbus. And that's all it takes, I think, to get them on board with why it is so important to see these not only investments, but approaches to developing our economy.
And real quickly, I also believe that, when you look at in the headlines and you see that Columbus is in the same conversation with Chicago, Las Vegas, Atlanta, San Diego, people take a lot of pride in that. And it's through a lot of hard work. It's through a lot of your hard work and us accomplishing that. We have to take advantage of that.
Hi, I'm Trip Lazarus. We've talked a little bit about nostalgia, and one thing I'm plan to be nostalgic about in the future is the North Market. And I was wondering about the changes that are coming to that square of land there, and I don't know if you are all the most appropriate to talk about that. I'm sure, Betsy, you know a lot about that, but I was expecting to hear a little something about that today, and I would love to. Thank you.
Well, the foremost expert on said market is not on this panel, but he is in the room. So we'll go corner him and pummel him and make him tell you stories later. What I will say is you will have no reason to be nostalgic for the North Market because it's not going anywhere, Trip. The market itself will stay there. It will remain open throughout the duration of an expansion initiative. On the parking lot of the North Market, you're going to be nostalgic for that. If that's the thing, that you really love, I'm sorry. But you will be able to enjoy an expansion of market activities, better places to gather and meet when you go to the market, a new hotel and housing, and certainly it's dense development, but it is also needed, as these guys have explained within the industry. And it's that level of density and development is needed if we want to have an emboldened transit system, and we want, all kinds of other things for the community.
Yeah, there isn't another city where you can walk out of a convention center, walk across the street, and go to a market and have that experience. And it helps, again, provide a unique experience to our destination.
And the Convention Authority has an arrangement in place with the North Market organization to replace that North Market patron parking when Rick gives up that lot for future development.
Thank you.
Rick, you want to raise your hand just so everybody knows? So if you have any questions or complaints, he's right here in front.
I think everyone recognizes him.
Hi, Andy Campbell. Thanks for being here today. A 1,000-room hotel, that takes a lot of people to maintain and run on a daily basis, not to mention all the other hotels and restaurants and jobs. We're talking about businesses in the region. And I'm wondering, do we have the workforce to support that? And what about the infrastructure that enables them to do that? Affordable housing, transportation to get there. You can't keep packing in more jobs and more people without the people to fill those. Just your thoughts along those lines.
The Hilton Hotel, the headquarters hotel that we currently have, is paying a living wage of at least $15 an hour for all of its employees, or will do so within a year. We expect to add another 400 good-paying jobs when the hotel is expanded and opened in 2022. We understand that the benefit package that goes along with a living wage is there. And we intend to do that, Hilton intends to do that as a good employer in order to compete with all the other service industry organizations in town, hotels and otherwise, that are competing for stewards and competing for housemaids and porters and receptionists and everything. It's a very competitive market that we have right now. So I expect that the wage and benefit package will be even more competitive as we move further than it is now. Transportation, getting workers to and from, is a challenge, and we are grateful to CODA for the program that they have started in the downtown district, and we hope that they expand that soon to the Short North District, because the Hilton sits in the Short North District, and we would like the Hilton's employees to be able to take advantage of that discounted program.
And Don, speaking about the CPAS program, which is an incredible program, and it's not just large employers like the Hilton and the hotel service industry that are saying to us, my goodness, we would love to have a companion program like that in the Short North. It's small businesses too. And, we see about 10,000 people that work on High Street today, inclusive of who Don and the Hilton employ. And we're projecting that is going to grow. So getting all of those workers here and making sure that we have enough workers is of optimum concern. But it's an issue that we all need to spend time collaborating on and investing in.
Okay. Brian, Betsy, Don, thank you very much. Can I have a round of applause?
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Doug. I hope you all found today's forum enlightening. I will be a new resident of the Short North this week, and so I'm looking forward to checking out some
You
of this
have my
stuff.
number.
There you are. There you are. So I took a lot of things out of today's forum. I think all of us in the room took one important thing. Don invited us to the opening rooftop. So we definitely want to do that. And let's thank our sponsors, Crow and Columbus Business First. And our partners, Experience Columbus and the Short North Arts District. And of course, our speakers, Brian Ross, Betsy Pandora, Don Brown, and Doug Buchanan. And our special thanks to all of you. We look forward to seeing you next week at CMC. Thank you.